Shrek just might be the most iconic film of all time. It is the essential satire of all the classic fairy tales that came before it, poking fun at their tropes and shortcomings, but it's also a really heartfelt story and, in its own right, a timeless classic. But the writers didn't want Shrek to feel like a classic tale. They wanted this to be a modern, fresh retelling of all the fairy tales that we all grew up with. And one of the best ways to do that is through the movie's music. Hi, my name is Alex, I'm a writer, and I don't usually like when movies fill their soundtrack with popular songs around the time of the movie's production. I think it immediately dates the movie, and the audience more than likely already has a connection to the song you're using, so it's hard to map that onto a character or something new. It's hard to see a piece of music unbiasedly if you already have a connection to it. As a shorthand, it can work fine, and it is very prominent in a lot of kids' movies. King Julian singing "I Like to Move It" in Madagascar is fun, and it immediately lets you know that he's laid back, but a party kind of guy, or lemur. But the analysis of his character stops there. Shrek, on the other hand, does something very interesting and very purposeful with its music. Before we talk about that though, we need to discuss the main theme of Shrek, because oh my god, this might be the best piece of music that's ever been written. I think the piece is just called Fairy Tale, which makes sense. It opens the movie with Shrek reading from a fairy tale book. The original score for Shrek was composed by Harry Gregson Williams and John Powell, two very prominent names in the film scoring community. They would go on to work on projects like How to Train Your Dragon, Sinbad and the Legend of the Seven Seas, and a ton of others. This piece alone makes the entire movie work. Hallelujah grounds Shrek in the feeling of a fairy tale, no matter how far we strive away with modern songs and pop culture gags. I mean, listen to it, the vibe, the aura. And this intentionally traditional fairy tale sounding music carries throughout the rest of the original score of the movie. Madison and I were watching Shrek just a few days ago, and I legitimately got chills when I heard the theme play for the first time. And hearing it fully orchestrated so many different ways throughout the movie really adds a layer of complexity to what is a really simple tune, which is the point. Fairy tales are for children. They're simple stories that should be easily understood. But if you dig a little deeper, pull back the layers, onion joke, it's actually a lot more complex than you might realize. So now let's talk about the music that wasn't made for the movie Shrek and how they fit it into the world that they were making. When you think classic fairy tale, you usually get the musical structure of princess sings a song about what she wants and who she is to the audience. Disney is the go-to example for this, and for good reason. The Little Mermaid, The Princess and the Frog, the list can go on. But when your movie doesn't have songs, when your characters aren't singing about who they are, you have to be very selective with what music you choose to relate them to, and what sounds you associate them with. I actually think it's easier in a lot of ways just to write original music for a movie instead of trying to get already existing pieces of music fit inside your story. Disney didn't use any commercial music in any of their movies until Luca in 2021. But DreamWorks is no stranger to this practice. We already talked about I Like to Move It in Madagascar, and there are a few other songs in those movies alone. But let's focus back on Shrek. What does the music need to convey about Shrek as a character? What does the audience need to know? Well, we begin the movie and Shrek is living alone in his swamp, and he likes it that way. He lives his own life regardless of what people think and doesn't look for validation or companionship. And what song did they use to embody this? Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. Yeah. Maybe the most iconic part of this whole movie. To open your film right after the fairy tale theme with All Star by Smash Mouth is crazy. And it's crazy because it works. All Star was written by band member Greg Camp in response to fan mail they were getting, specifically from children saying how that they felt like outsiders and that Smash Mouth felt like their band. The lyrics in the song, while seemingly going all over the place at times, is a critique on social norms and anybody trying to put you down and keep you boxed in. This fits not only Shrek's character, but the whole plot of the movie, subverting from the expectations that are put on you from society, choosing to live your life and love yourself regardless of what other people think. The punk aspect of the song also brings a strong sense of counterculture, as we see Shrek doing a bunch of gross stuff but minding his own business, while the townfolk are sharpening their pitchforks and getting ready to hunt Shrek for what seems like no reason at all. All Star was already a hit when it came out in the 90s, but being in Shrek Shrek catapulted it to a whole new level of stardom. And I think it's because the song connects so deeply with the movie. This wasn't just a pop hit that was thrown in last minute. The production team thought about how this song could make their movie better. This idea carries through the rest of the songs in Shrek. High energy punk numbers like Bad Reputation playing when Shrek is beating up all the knights in Duloc, literally making his reputation worse, until he wins and everybody likes him. I'm a Believer playing at the end of the movie once Shrek and Fiona have found true love, something that Shrek states he doesn't believe in at the beginning of the movie. And of course, Hallelujah is probably the second most iconic song in this movie, which is crazy because everybody knows Hallelujah. It's a certified banger that is all about the human condition and how love can affect all of us. The song plays after Shrek and Fiona are separated from each other when they both realize that what they wanted was actually each other all along. The interesting thing about this one is that I do think the song is used in a more generic way than the other songs in the movie, but I think that makes it kind of work better. Hallelujah is a heart-wrenching song. Leonard Cohen is often referred to as one of music's greatest poets, and that is on full display here. However, the true power of the lyrics would be a bit much in the scenes where characters are just moping around feeling sorry for themselves. Instead, the song does help us connect with what the characters are feeling, but the instrumentation and orchestration gives us a more realistic grounding of the fairy tale world that we're set in. This contrast in relation to every other song we've heard stops the song from being too cheesy because it is so different and it is affecting us differently. It feels good to listen to and it's placed extremely well. Pretty much all the songs in Shrek are a critique on the classic fairy tale idea of a princess singing in the woods and being surrounded by little animal friends. Shrek doesn't sing. He doesn't belong to that tradition. Instead, he makes his own. Not that there's anything wrong with the fairy tale tradition, it's just not who Shrek is, and that's cool. Shrek is so good on so many levels. The story, the comedy, the commentary. I said a little earlier that everybody hates Shrek until they don't. Throughout the Shrek movies, and especially in Shrek 2, we see people with a preconceived idea of what an ogre is and are put off by Shrek's presence until they warm up to him and get to know him, and then they're pretty chill. While being a little in your face if you think about it, this depiction of prejudice is crazy to see in a kids movie. And what's even crazier is that we see characters change. They understand who Shrek is and they are fine with him, or they get eaten by a dragon. But that is all for this video. Let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about a different aspect of why Shrek works. I swear I could talk all day about this movie. Like this video to help it grow and subscribe for more videos of me talking about music and media or showing off my own things that I've been creating. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.